something huge just happened. Well, it happened 2 weeks ago, but I quit my full-time job. I thought it was fitting to have my vision board behind me for this video because I have been dreaming of this moment for over 3 years. The reason for this video is I want to share mainly all of my tips as to how I got to this point. I want to share a little bit about my story, but I want to help you guys. So before we get into the 6 tips, I'm just going to give you a little summary as to where I was at with my business and the job that I left, because the job that I left, it was very hard for me to make this decision, and I will explain to you what I mean by that. So I worked for this company for 11 years right out of college, and when I got there, it was a dream. I felt like I had found my place. I felt like I had found my dream job. Truly saw myself at this company for the entire time of my career, like going to retire at 65, staying here until the day I die. And you know, things change and your priorities change as a person. And I'm not going to get into any of that. I still have a lot of friends at the company. I still think it's a great company for a lot of other people. It just didn't fit me as I was going up the career path. The last couple of years, as I was building my side business, which really just happened out of being a hobby, I really felt more passionate about that, and I could see that I could grow this business into something that was just mine, that could sustain me and my family. And whether or not it ends up making me millions of dollars, which yes, that's the dream, and if that's your goal, like, don't let that go. But sometimes it's just not about the money. And that's kind of what I want to share with you is I left a job that my 2020 tax return, and I'm sharing a lot of personal information with you because I want you to get value out of this. My tax return last year, between my salary and my bonus and stocks that I was able to sell, I had to swallow because it's a big number. I made $150,000 last year at my corporate job. And I'm gonna tell you right now, my side business is not anywhere near that. I will not be paying myself that for a little while, but I will be paying myself enough to pay my bills, and I have all 6 tips that I'm going to share with you as to why I felt okay walking away from such a big paying job. The first tip is a financial one, and it is to save money. Now, I know that sounds like, duh, no, of course, we should be saving money regardless of what we want to do in life. But I mean, like, save your money. Start to think about your spending and where you're spending money and what's truly giving you value. It took me a long time to realize that there is not a single material item that was going to make me happy and suppress how I was feeling because of my job. I had subscription boxes that I was liking, a beauty box, a clothing rental, but I didn't really get a lot of value out of that. So those got cut immediately. I started cooking in more. I love to cook, so that wasn't a hard thing. And during COVID, we obviously spent a lot more time in our homes cooking, but I cooked in more. If we did get food out, it was takeout, not necessarily going to a restaurant that's more expensive. Now, I also don't want you to go completely extreme and feel like you can't buy something or you can't go out to eat. That's not what I'm saying, but what I am saying is to look at what you actually are spending and figure out what you can do to balance those and save as much money as possible. The second one, and I know it's not sexy, is your healthcare. So you probably are going to lose your benefits immediately after you leave your job. I had already been preparing for this moment with my husband, and so I was on his healthcare for about 4 months before I actually left my job. And if that's not an option for you, you can definitely start researching, and I suggest start researching what you're going to do and put that in place before you even give your notice, because in my experience, these kinds of things and anything with healthcare, I feel, just takes forever. So I may have shocked you a little bit in the beginning when I told you how much I was actually making at my full-time job. And I did tell you that my side business wasn't making that money, and that's very true. But what I did get financially, that doesn't make any sense, what I did do financially in my business was figure out, after I had canceled all my subscriptions, not all, but canceled the ones that weren't benefiting me and I wasn't getting joy out of, and really figured out financially what I was paying every month, how much money I needed every month to pay those bills. Once my side business got me to pay that, I then felt comfortable saying that Fiorella could pay me enough to pay my bills comfortably. I need to take a sip of coffee. It's not as cold as I would like anymore, but it's good. Number 4 was actually a really big one, and it took me a really long time to get to this point, but I paid off my debts. I still had a pretty significant car loan and very large student loan payments. So I knew that when I left my full-time job, I absolutely would not want to have those kinds of payments. I got a bonus every year, and when all my friends were going and buying Chanel bags, Gucci belts, all these amazing, pretty, beautiful things, I saved my money. And then I paid off my loans. Those debt payments, they don't care what's going on in your life. They want those payments, and you do not want to default on any of those. So it was really important to me that if I was going to leave, I didn't have something like that was going to add to my stress. So most of what I've been talking about is financial, which I think makes sense, but you also need to spend time talking to your family. So talking to your family, even your friends, this can be a tricky subject. I personally had a lot of resistance in some of my family members, and it was coming from a very good place. It was not coming from a place of not wanting me to be happy. It took me a while, and there were definitely some tears over the last 3 years, but by the time I got to the day I was going to leave, I had a huge support system behind me. So you might have a different situation. You might have someone who has been your biggest cheerleader and already is, and that's amazing. Or you might be more like me and have to have some serious conversations with your family members about it. And I would just say in those conversations, be prepared that you're not always going to have the biggest supporters and biggest cheerleaders, and that's okay. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. I was mine, and I don't hold a grudge to anybody that it's in my family. I completely understand their mindset, and you have to understand where they're coming from. My husband was very concerned about our financial stability. I don't blame him. He's a firefighter, but that's not a job that makes tons of money. So it was something that we had to have constant conversations about, constant fights about, but we are now in a position that on the day I left, he was my biggest support and my biggest cheerleader. So start having those conversations and really start preparing your family for it, because you don't want to drop a bomb on them the day or the week that you quit your job and say like, oh, today I just quit. That's not fair to your friends and family. Maybe not your friends, but that's not fair to your family. My last tip is leave on a high note. Always take the higher road. You might have a grudge against people. You might want to say like, F you, we're done with this. I'm leaving. I want to say all the things, all the pent up things that I have wanted to say to you for however many years you've been miserable at your job. And that might feel good in the moment, but I really don't suggest doing that. And the reason being is, especially if you're going to work for yourself, you do not want to leave any negativity that's going to go into your next stage of life. I felt like if I were to do that at my job that I was leaving, I would have burned bridges. You never know when you're going to run into somebody again, or when you might need something from someone. Somebody else might become a small business. You don't want them to have this last image of you being negative. There's nothing good that comes from being negative or nasty or mean, in my opinion. And so I highly suggest leaving on a good note. That's going to be great for if you ever do want to return to that company again, or if you ever run into anybody from that company again. Leaving on a high note with a smile on your face is by far the best way. But selfishly, leaving on good terms for me really started my next chapter on a very high positive note. And that is going to set you up for even more success. If you leave feeling negative and you feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, you don't have an opportunity to change that. So I would just say, bite your tongue, say what you want to say, to somebody else or to a pillow or something. But I really don't think saying all of the things that have bothered you in your exit interview or to your manager, if that's who's bothered you, there's just nothing good that's going to come of that. And I just don't believe in life that like you want to have any of that stuff on your conscience. So leave on a high note. I think I got everything on my list, but I hope that some of these tips are helpful for you. And if you have other tips that I maybe missed, leave them in the comments down below or message me. And I wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to see what journey you end up on. Bye.